Welcome, everybody. Casting for Two, the podcast with your host, Chris. That one guy who is it's actually me, and I'm happy to have you guys here today and every week because I like you guys. I can't help it. That's why I do the show, because I like you guys and I like talking to people. So there we go. That's why there's a show. Today's episode number 67 for you. This is the part where I usually try to fill in time, just because I don't really know what to fill it in with. They're bringing back Coach, which is cool. Nothing against Craig T. Nelson, but was anybody really clamoring for some Coach? I don't know. But to each his own. Patrick Star was on that show. I don't remember his name, but the guy who does Patrick Star is on The Voice, so that'll be cool. But yeah. So, as always, you can contact me, my Twitter, at Casting4Two, or I'm also on Instagram now, at Casting4Two, the same one, or drop me an email at casting4two@gmail.com. But let's get into today's guests, because I had a guest. I had a great time talking with him. He's a actor, writer, producer. His name's Leo Oliva, and he has a movie which he wrote and produced. It's called The Shift. He also acted in it alongside Danny Glover, which is pretty freaking cool if you ask me. He's also still an RN, a registered nurse. So very fascinating conversation with him. Wonderful to talk to, and let's just get into this episode. So anybody, just everybody, not anybody, everybody sit back, relax, enjoy me talking to Leo. And Chris, cue the music, please, and thank you. Hi, is this Leo?
Yeah, is this Chris?
This is.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Doing well, buddy, doing well. Thanks for calling.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always excited to talk with actors, and especially actors who have gone further than just acting. So I was very excited to chat with you.
Great, man. Yeah, thank you.
How's your morning going so far?
Good, actually. Every Wednesday morning I get in and I do a little bit of acting work, whether it's character work or just scene study and stuff like that every Wednesday morning with actually my old acting teacher. We still get together with a group of us and just solidify and expand on what we've already done and learned. So working a little bit today, took a little break to talk to you, and then I'll get back into the swing of things.
Okay. And what does that practice involve? Like, is it just because I'm not an actor?
No. Yeah, no problem. We it's Meisner based training.
Okay.
So we get together. Everybody gets to bring in different things. I've been working on a scene for about a month, so about 4 different times, and just finding the nuggets within it and things that I like to do a lot of drama. So I grabbed a comedy scene just to play with that, to stretch, to feel uncomfortable. Because once you get good at something, you get comfortable in something, it's not worth doing it over and over and over and over. I mean, you'll find nuggets here and there, but they're more few and far between. And getting ready to start a comedy sitcom, with actually the same producing partner that I'm working with right now that I did The Shift with. So I'm warming up the comedy aspect of everything that I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it was always fun because I went to film school, and there were two sides. There was the film production side and the actor side. And it was always fun for us to go, film people, film people, go into the actor side and see what they do. And I remember me and my another classmate, my friend, we were just kind of standing there as the actors were taking all these notes, getting ready, and we were just, we don't belong here. And then the teacher stopped me and said, "You see what these two are doing?" And they looked at us and they're like, "That's what you need to do." I was like, "We're not doing anything." Exactly.
Exactly.
I go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. The idea is to find that space where you're not working, that you're just living.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it comes down to the basics of just listening. There are a lot of actors out there that don't listen, or people that call themselves actors and don't listen. You'll see them ready to jump to the next line instead of actually listening to their partner, listening to the people or the scene in which they're working, taking that and allowing that to affect them. And that's probably exactly what the teacher was poking at, saying that you guys need to listen like these two are listening over here.
Yeah, like these non-actors are just scared and trying to keep up.
They're just living life, man.
Exactly. That brings up a good point. When you're acting, obviously, depending on the project, a lot of projects are scripted. How do you, as an actor, keep that fresh doing multiple takes? Because the next line's coming up, and like you said, you're listening, but when they call cut and you have to do it again, how do you keep it fresh for you once you're in character?
Well, for me, every take tends to be different, even if it's just a little bit. And that's just, if you listen close enough to the people that you're working with, the other actors that you're working with, there will always be a difference. There will always be something. They can't give you the exact same line the exact same way. There'll be something, whether it's in their emotion or in their tone. And if you listen to that and take that personally, you can give how you feel, and it'll be just a little bit different. It may not jump off the screen totally different, but it'll give the director something different to work with. So I always wipe the slate clean. At the end, once it's cut, and if you're really in it, you tend to forget parts of what you've done. It just goes away because you're living in the moment. It's like, can you remember exactly how you asked me that last question? You can't. You just asked it. So if we get into this and we do it again, it's okay, let's take two. Let's do the exact same question again. You're going to ask it just a little bit differently. I'm going to answer it just a little bit differently. And that it gives you that freshness.
Gotcha. Okay. And what, let's go back and talk about how you first got the acting bug. How old were you?
The real acting bug. I've always been a little bit of a performer since I was a kid. I always loved getting on stage, and I'd always run up, like my parents and we used to go up to Universal Studios Orlando. That was our summer vacation. I always used to jump on stage and do Ghostbusters and anything that I could be in front of people. I always had this thing about performing or being in front of an audience. Yeah. But when I really decided that I wanted to act and I really wanted to perform, I was, I believe, 16. I was in high school, and my brother talked me into taking an acting class. And I said, fine, I'll take drama. And I got up on stage, and we did the real moment was the teacher that I had said, you know what, you guys bring in something original, bring in something different. Just come over and bring something that no one's ever seen before. And it's going to be a pantomime. You have to do it for 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty easy. I'll just come up with something and get a good grade. I wasn't really taking it seriously. But the idea of be original, bring something different, really kept ringing in me. And I sat down and started to try to come up with ideas and started trying to come up with different things to do. And I ended up coming up with the idea of committing suicide on stage, doing something totally different. And I went up on stage when it was my turn, and I proceeded to commit suicide, but to do it from a sad point, going in, sitting down, pulling the gun out from underneath the bed and really contemplating it, to the point that the pantomime gun was in my mouth and I was getting ready to pull the trigger, but then the turn at the end was that there's a knock at the door and I have to put it away. I'm not going to do this right now. And when I was done, I went off stage and I waited for a little bit. And when I came back out, everybody was caught off guard by what I had done.
Yeah.
My teacher started to clap, and there was one girl who was on the verge of tears, you know, and it started a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had friends come up and say, you know, I actually thought about that, or I had my sister tried to commit suicide, or a friend of mine, you know, and I've been really sad. So I noticed that without saying anything, I could sit on stage and do something that could open up a topic of conversation, or open up a situation, a floor, so to speak, for people to speak and talk about things that made them uncomfortable, or things that they didn't find another way, or they hadn't found another way to actually open up about. And I was like, well, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to open people up with the work that I do. And then that was it. I was like, I need to figure out how to do this. But a kid from Miami sitting in high school drama class, how do you do that? And then it was just start figuring that aspect of it out, you know.
Right,
get to LA, do what I have to do.
Right. And you were 16.
I was 16. That was when I first noticed that this is what I want to do with my life. Yeah. I remember noticing that acting was a profession when, I don't know when Apollo 13 came out, but I remember watching Tom Hanks in Apollo 13 and being like, wait, this guy's an astronaut. And before he was, he can be a bunch of different things. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. So I was in love with that movie. And then I was like, well, I can be whatever I want, because I can be an astronaut, or I can be a cop. I should just become an actor. But that was little kid dreams. And then there was a deeper reason that came forth when I was 16. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. And just because I'm curious, because if I ever pulled an act like that when I was 16, I would have had parents calling me. The principal would have sat down, chatted with. None of that happened.
No, I think it's different now. Mm-hmm. I think people are much more touchy, as open. Correct, and as you know, inclusive as we are. People are much more touchy about things, and I think that makes them more taboo, and it makes people hide even more from what they're really feeling. And I think movies are that medium, you know, that give you that opportunity to say, come sit down, you're my prisoner for the next hour and a half. You're going to watch this, and it's going to make you feel something. You're going to open up while you're watching it. Mm-hmm. And then you go talk about it. You know, you don't have to say, oh my God, I thought about committing suicide. No, you could say, you know what, that character in the movie was thinking about committing suicide. That was so sad. And then it starts the topic of conversation, you know, if that's what the movie's about.
Right. And so you do acting class. What was your first big project that you just kind of you either landed, whether an audition or a play, anything like that?
Depends on what you consider big. I mean, I haven't had that huge break yet. Mm-hmm. But I was able to do, I felt what a real audience was like when I was still at the University of Miami. I got to do a play. One of my teachers talked me into doing one. And I was like, yeah, if you're going to put it together, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And we got to perform. It was a small black box, maybe somewhere between 50 to 80 seats, small. Mm-hmm. But I got to play, and she allowed us to do some writing and some creating on our own of the characters that we were putting up. And that was the first big moment for me, saying, okay, now I know I can do this because I can entertain an audience. Mm-hmm. The role-wise, like if we were going to go down resume, I know I did. I don't know if I did Louis C.K. before I did The Shift or after. I think it was just before.
Yeah, it was. I think before.
Okay, so I did Louis C.K. I think that's the biggest thing that I've done outside of my own work. And it was a small part, but I constantly get like messages. Oh, I just saw you. Like people keep watching that episode because it ended up winning. It was the first one I think that had won any Emmys for him. Mm-hmm. So, and that was great getting to work with Louis because he likes to improvise a lot of stuff and he likes to play. So there's a lot of freedom, and you get to see someone who's a master at work because this guy is directing, mm-hmm. he's acting, he's the writer, and then at the same time he's going to go back and edit it and finish the whole thing on his own. And that in itself was an inspiration.
Right. You know? And it's also nice because, I mean, from his point of view, he has total creative control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he can really really express himself without somebody
And
giving notes.
it's a huge responsibility too. I mean, there's a weight that you feel, I think, when you have that amount of freedom.
Hmm.
If it's bad, it's bad. It's your fault.
Right, right.
It's not, well, the executive said to change that scene into a, no. If it's bad, it's bad. But on the flip side, if it's great, and it's yours,
Right.
and he's putting out really good work.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I know I'm not a huge fan of Steven Soderbergh. I mean, I watch a couple of his
Mhm.
movies, but I respect the fact that he does do his own DP, the editing, all that
Mhm.
stuff, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have such a clear vision to say, I'm going to take on the entire project,
Right, right.
every aspect of it.
Hmm.
And that takes a lot. It takes a lot. But at the same time, think about, he must have so much passion for what he's doing that
Right.
he's willing to take on that much responsibility, because it's not just, I'm going to put the camera here and I'm going to see how this looks. No, he's planned it out.
Yeah.
He knows how the movie's going to roll before the movie even starts being shot.
Hmm.
And it's, I mean, that's just impressive. That amount of dedication, that amount of focus is just inspiring.
Right. Yeah. And now you've gotten into producing and writing. Would you ever think about doing directing?
I've been asked,
Hmm.
um, I, at some point, not yet.
Hmm.
I don't, I know I'm not ready for it.
Hmm.
I respect it too much. Um, and I don't understand all the intricacies about it. And I don't want to yet, because as an actor, I like not knowing everything that the director's going to do to me in order to get me to where I need to be.
Right. Right.
And it's great to know writing, because as an actor, okay, I'm on page 53 of a 120-page script. I know where I'm at emotionally. I know where I'm at in the arc of the script, of this character. Da, da, da. But when it comes down to directors kind of have to have a bit of a sleight of hand that they use on actors every now and then, because if I'm not getting to where I need to get, it's his job or her job to get me there.
Hmm.
So at some point, I mean, hopefully I get to the point that I'm doing Clint Eastwood work when
Yeah.
I'm older.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. That's my goal in the end. But as for right now, I don't see it anywhere in the near future. I've had some friends ask me to direct some stuff, and I'll work on it with them. But the responsibility of directing is just so huge. No, I'm not ready for it
Right.
now.
No, no, I hear you. I hear you. But let's talk about The Shift. How
Yeah.
it's a movie, that a feature film that you wrote. You also co-produced or executive
Hmm.
produced it. How did this come up?
So it all started with me wanting to show people what I could do.
Hmm.
So when you start out and you don't have enough credits, it's very difficult to get in the room. So you have a show reel basically, that plays the best scenes that you have.
Correct.
I wanted to write a scene for myself. So I sat down and I started writing a scene, and I said, well, what scares me? What can I do that will show what I can do emotionally, what my range is, all that stuff? And the thought of, I'm a registered nurse. I still work as a registered nurse at night.
Hmm.
And the thought of family or someone that I cared about coming into the ER and me not being able to take care of them is still my biggest fear.
Hmm.
As is for most people. A lot of people don't even work where they live, because that cannot happen. They work miles from where they live.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So mom doesn't come through the door, or your brother or dad or grandma, you have that distance. So I wrote a scene, but I wrote a 10-page scene, which is way too long. It's basically a short film.
Yeah.
And it all took place in a hospital. And the buddy was telling me, he's like, dude, that's a hospital. You need to save that for something bigger. That's a very difficult location to get.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, what do you mean bigger? He goes, well, write a feature. And I was like, okay, how many pages is a feature? And he's like, 90 to 120. And I'm like, all right, I got 10. I can, I just got to put another 80 down, and
Right.
I'll have 90 pages. And I think the fact that I was naive when I started allowed me to do this, because had I known how much work it was going to be, I don't know if I would have had the ability to do it, to get over those humps. Now I
Right.
know, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now I've already overcome it. And I sat down and I wrote the first draft over 2 nights. I just sat down and said, okay, I'm going to write this movie. So I sat down and a bunch of coffee and sat down and wrote it over 2 nights. Because my brain works better at night. That's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started rewriting, and the rewriting took a few years. And then there was that moment of, I'm not a writer. I'm an actor. I need to act. I need to make a movie. And I decided, we're going to shoot this today. We're going to shoot this year in July. Mm-hmm. And it was like February. And July didn't happen. We didn't have the funding. We didn't have anything. We didn't have the crew. I didn't have a team. So we pushed it to September. September didn't work. We pushed it to October. In October we started shooting in Miami. And the hospital we had fell apart. It was our location, but there was an agreement, and within that agreement it said that if we got overrun by patients, the patients came first. So they did, unfortunately. They were like, we never use this section, it's going to be fine. And no, it ended up getting swamped with patients. We were kicked out of the hospital gently, but we didn't have a hospital. So for the next 3 days, Melanie, my producer, and I, we drove up and down the coast of Florida trying to find another hospital, and we couldn't. Ultimately, in the end, we didn't have the hospital that we needed. Mm-hmm. So we shut down production in Miami, came back to LA, and it was all for the best. I mean, when we got back to LA was when we got Danny Glover. It was when we got LA County USC, the big hospital that you see on General Hospital. It used to be on the open, but it still is. We got an amazing DP. We got everything that we needed to make the movie what it is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you hit a brick wall and you quit. And luckily, we didn't.
Right. And it's nice that you also did have somebody to help you out. Your producer, what was her name again?
Melanie Pietro. Yeah, she was a godsend, honestly, because I'm not a producer. I've learned how to produce, but I'm not. And there's a specific type of mind, and an actor's mind is not a producer's mind. These are two different worlds.
Right.
And she helped pull the entire thing together. She helped reorganize. We basically rebooted the entire movie over here in LA, and did it in we started putting it back together in November, December, January. In 2 months, maybe 3 months max, the movie was ready to go, because we started shooting in January. Yeah, we started shooting in or end of January, I believe. It was ridiculous how fast she was able to pull it together. But that's who she is. She's a workhorse. She knocked it out.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, you want to surround yourself with people who not only can get work done, but are going to support the project. So I'm happy it all worked out for you.
Oh, me too. I mean, it's not just people that will support it, but that will elevate it. And that's one of the things that Melanie brought to the table is I'm never scared to work with people that are better than me. In fact, I look for people that are better than me, because they will elevate everything that I'm trying to do. And Melanie is by far way better than I am at producing, because it's her passion. And if you find people that are passionate about something, they'll bring that passion to the project, and that can't do anything but make it better.
So there you go. So for anybody wanting to get into film, surround yourself with the best.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's number one. Well, that, and you need you need passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. What else did you want to talk about? It's an open forum. We can talk about whatever you'd like.
I don't know. We've been lucky.
You know what? So you're still working as an RN?
Yes.
What's your sleep pattern like?
What sleep?
Exactly. Yeah. When do you nap?
I work overnights. So I'll squish all my days together and I'll work them back to back. So sometimes I'll do 4 in a row, or sometimes I'll do 6 in a row, and just knock them all out so that I can have the next 2 weeks off and organize it like that, and try to plan all our meetings and all of our stuff together that way. I do. I take really good naps. I've trained myself. I mean, I've been nursing since 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So I've trained and I've always done nights.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go to sleep when I need to go to sleep. I'm lucky enough to have that if right now when we hang up I can knock out, I will. I can knock out. And and I go into sleep and a deep sleep pretty quick. So I mean, you do what you have to do, honestly. I sleep the least amount possible.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years I've noticed that I get migraines. That's my flaw. If I don't sleep enough, I'm down for a day with a horrible migraine. At least a day and a half sometimes.
Wow.
So I'm learning to pace myself. I think that's been one of the biggest things that I've learned from this whole process is pace myself.
There you go. And when you're not working or sleeping, what do you like to do just to relax?
Get out of the city.
Okay.
In Miami, it used to be the beach. I have a motorcycle. I actually have two now. Thank God. I have one here in LA, which is dangerous, I know, but then I have one in Miami. So when I go home, it's ride the bike out to the beach
mm-hmm.
and just listen to the water, get some sun, and relax.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's ride the bike up into the mountains and disconnect from the city. It's just there's such a pace and there's such an energy about both Miami and LA, but LA to me is work. This is where I'm it's like if I clock in every time I fly into town. So I don't get to clock out until I leave.
Yeah.
And if I can drive to whether it's Big Bear or if it's just there's actually a little hill that I like to go to that overlooks the entire LA city, just up by Runyon Canyon. I drive up there, I sit back a lot of times at night and I'll smoke a cigar or I'll just do something that disconnects me from this rush of, hey, is this done? Do you have the poster? Do you have the DVD? Who are we going to talk to? Did we get this meeting? Like, just forget about all that for a little bit. Yeah.
There you go. It's definitely good to clear your mind. I have it cleared all the time.
How do you get anything done, Chris? Come on, man.
It unclears up when something has to happen.
That's awesome, man.
But for the people at home who'd like to know more about you or follow you online, where can they do that?
I just recently got onto Instagram, but everything basically falls under Oliva Pro. So Twitter is Oliva Pro, Instagram is Oliva Pro, and that's OLIVA PRO. And then you have leooliva.com, imdb.com, and then Facebook. Facebook, I'm basically saying yes to anybody who wants to be my friend at this point. I don't mind. I'm going to end up closing the friend side and just leaving the actor page up. But if they look up Leo Oliva, they can find me. I'm pretty open. I come from a family of helpers, and nursing is a helping field. And I think acting and the industry can be a helpful field as well. So I'm here to help. I mean, if there's any way that I can help anybody out, whether it's give some advice or just be somebody to listen, I'm there. So people can reach out. I don't mind.
There we go. And Leo, I've had a wonderful time chatting with you. I hope your acting exercises go well.
Thank you, Chris.
And
Thank you so much, man.
I hope you don't work too hard, okay?
I'll do my best.
All right. Clear that
Have
mind.
A good one, man.
Clear
It was
that
a pleasure.
mind. Clear it. Just clear it
Will
up.
do. I'm going to pull a Chris and just go clear it.
There we go.
Have a good one, man.
You too.
Take care.
All
Bye.
right, you too, buddy. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, you can always catch up with these episodes on castingfor2.com. You can also follow me at Twitter @castingfor2 or send me an email at castingfor2@gmail.com.